Yo, what's up? Back with another meta update. And we have some changes. As per usual, we're going to start with Hunter and move all the way over to the solo lane. But I will say that I recently made a video that I am quite proud of, and I've been trying to improve my editing skills, and I think that kind of shows them off very well, so it's my most recent upload other than this one. So go check it out, please. I'd appreciate it. And if you feel like I've earned your sub, or you aren't already subbed and you've been watching my videos, please do. I'd greatly appreciate it. Anyway, I think the best carry in the game right now is just on her, especially for ranked. You can exert your pressure, your high damage very, very easily in your lane. 1v1ing your opponent is super easy. His late game is a little bit weaker than some of the other hunters, but that doesn't matter as much. The hunter build is kind of meshed into this weird, like, hybrid sort of kins and crit build. You can kind of mix both in. Ornate Arrow seems to be the one they're going. They're going Guild Arrow into Ornate, but Hunter's Cowl or Leader's Cowl is still something you could do. Your Gooseberries. Devos into Exy. You can go Dominance or Kins or Demon Blade. All in the same spot. Any of them can go there. You can follow it up with Kins, or you can go Fail Not. But you finish out your build with a Deathbringer and Venom Deathbringer, and you're just doing Hunter stuff. You do absurd damage. Spectral sucks, so your anti-crit doesn't really matter. Number 2 is still Chernabog. I mean, what haven't I said already? Global rotations, high damage, short cooldowns, refreshing cooldowns with your ultimate. Good safety, good lane pressure, overall very strong. You would go the same build that I showed for on her in whatever variation you would like. Next pick I'd talk about would be Hachiman. Hachiman is safe. Long duration CC immunity, has good boxing potential, long range poke, and overall high late game DPS, and he's just strong. Same build as I said before with On Her would work with him. Pretty much all the hunters I'm going over, excluding one of them, has the potential to build that. So you can kind of just go it, cut and paste into whatever hunter you want. Again, except for the one that I'll say later. But he's just strong. He's also a safe pick, and he's not too hard to play. So Ullr's the differentiated pick. You're going to be building much more ability-based. Transcendence with the Party Punch, Bluestone, going into Hydras, Fail Not, Heartseeker, Titan's Bane, Crusher, Brawlers. You can kind of mix and match it how you want, but I think the Fail Not, the Hydras, and the Heartseeker are all very core, and so is the Trans. So you could throw the Crusher in, you could throw the Brawlers if you need it, but I think all this stuff is very good. So, you have absurdly high damage, really good rotations, super short cooldowns because of how your kit works. The only problem is your objective shred, like Fire Giant and Gold Fury, is a little bit slower, but you have a lot of kill potential and 1v1 potential, so you could definitely pick them up. Lastly, Rama. Same build as you would go with On Her that I showed before. Good safety, high damage, really good objective shred, really good tank shred. Overall, strong pick. He has solid lane control, and really good late game. That's really it. In the support role, Athena's still the best support in the game, in ranked especially. Global rotations, really high pressure. You make it impossible for your allies to miss their abilities half the time. And she just does it all. Her build's quite simple. You can still go Breastplate of Determination if you want to, but people have kind of been cutting it out and going Eldritch Dagger and looking for cooldown in other places, whether it be through Pridwin and things like Spirit Robe, Mantle of Discord, but your core items are still the same. The Eldritch Dagger, I think, is very strong, and it's kind of slept on, especially in the lower ranks. When you use a relic, your protections are increased, and you're able to see wards, meaning you can clear vision without even having the vision yourself, and paired with Bracer of Radiance, that's really easy to just do all the time. I don't think I have to say it again. You can watch, like, the past 16 of these. Yamoja's good. If you're good with the character, play her. She can carry games. She allows you to do things that you can't do with most other characters. And she makes stuff happen. She forces things to happen. She has pretty solid damage. Late game, she sustains up her team. She cuts off complete areas of the map. Locks people down. Forces you to buy Phantom Shell. You build the same way you'd build Athena. I think Breastplate is incredibly strong on her, because the cooldown reduction means you get more Omi quicker, but Eldritch Dagger is something that's still very good, so it's up for you to consider. You could just go basic Breastplate, too. You don't have to go the Determination. Basic Breastplate is still good, especially on supports, because it's a cheaper, good CDR item. And the Elephant. Same builds as I showed before with the other two supports. He has good Prot Shred, good Objective Burn, Good lockdown, gives protections to his allies in an area. He's the easiest to stack Thebes on because you can't steal last hits, and you have extended assist range. And especially if you get good with placing those pillars and catching people on corners, you just shred through people. Sobek would be my next pick. Sobek has the ability to just throw somebody into his entire team. If they don't have beads or they don't react in time, they're likely dead. He can keep people locked down. He's got good peel. He's got in-kit anti-heal. He's got a long-duration CC mean ultimate. You have to be careful, though, when plucking it in the late game, because sometimes if they do beads it correctly, you could just die. So it's risk versus reward. I was dreading having to talk about her, but Aphrodite just makes the game so unfun for other people to play. When you're linked to somebody, she provides an unnatural level of safety for them. The immunity through her ultimate, the healing, the movement speed she gives, she's just a strong support. She gives early lane pressure, she has decent damage. The only problem is that sometimes in ranked you can just get trapped and caught completely. But if you're good enough with her and good enough with your rotations, you will just be able to keep one person alive and have them just run the entire lobby. Plain and simple. Same build you'd go with the other supports, but you can throw things in, like Lotus Sickle if you want, or you can go into the healing tree. Rod of Asclepius, giving your team AoE CDR, well, it might not matter for your soul laner as much, but it's actually pretty OP. I would go this more towards the end of your build, but look for another defensive item. Breastplate of Valor isn't bad for her. Going regular Breastplate of Valor. Looking into maybe a Shogun's, because you're going to be standing next to somebody all the time. You can also go a Talisman of Energy or a Heart Ward Amulet, building into, not into Amulet of Stronghold, because you're going to have Eldritch Dagger, but you can go Heart Ward. You can also go Absolution, though it is a bit weird with her ultimate. If you're standing against standing with more than one person, you know, it might be pretty good, but still. Aphrodite's a very strong pick, and she just makes it so unfun to dive. Mid lane, Grandma's still really good. There's really not much else to say about it. She's still pretty strong, and she makes it difficult to dive her. You have to play around her like she has a silence all the time. She has absurdly high damage, and in the late game, she just throws it out everywhere. She is very strong. She builds the Prophetic Cloak, sort of this style of build. Still, it works incredibly well on her. Raijin's still pretty good. I mean, there's really not much else I could say about it. This is kind of what you're going to be looking at with Raijin in mid. I feel like this build is strong. Maybe there could be something better with it, but I feel like this build is strong. You have a ton of percent pen, a ton of flat pen. You just do absurd amount of damage. You've got the Soul Reaver for, you know, Reaver being OP. You've got a lot of CDR. You can also go alternate timeline for a little bit of protections, but he's just good. High damage, good mobility. His ultimate's good if you don't get caught out, you know. But short cooldowns, he's just strong. Thoth does the same stuff he did last patch, except for there's a bit more dive presence for him to deal with. Again, you're going a similar build to what you did with Raijin. You can look for an Ob Shard. You can also go coin earlier in the build. You'd go Mirrodin where the Reaver is. But I feel like this build is just better overall. Party Punch might just be better than Bow as well. You can go Timeline or you can go the Pendant. Either one works. Thoth is just a really strong pick. He's an artillery mage, does absurdly high damage. And there's literally clips of the SEC qualifiers where Thoths were literally one-shotting people. Granted, that was last patch, but still. Literally one-shotting people. Danger Noodle. I think you could still go Breastplate on this pick and it feel fine for you. This pick is fucking stupid. I hate when this character's good. He's incredibly difficult to dive, incredibly difficult to siege into. You borderline can't out-secure him, ever. He does absurdly high damage. He has a ton of mobility. For a character with no direct escape, he's slippery as hell. And it's super irritating. This character is sleeper, especially among the lower ranks, I think, but you should definitely be playing him. For my last pick, I'd say Janus. This character can just run circles around people. If you're good with him especially, you can just kind of dance around and do whatever you want. He does absurdly high damage. He is just annoying as hell. Super slippery, super fast, impossible to catch half the time. Super annoying. Not much has changed in the jungle, though. The bat is still number one. I think, at least. Really high damage, high sustain, good safety, decent gank potential. The only downside he has is that he doesn't have CC other than a slow. Looking to build something along the lines of this. Overall, you use your high damage to kill people in the early, mid, and late game. Snowball your lead, and just win. That's kind of just what he does. A Brawler's is probably something you could definitely fit in here. With the amount of healing and lifesteal that is going around with the Hunters and with some other Assassins, you can need it. Rat's still really good. I don't know when he's going to be bad, but he's still really good. He's a pick that you can go full damage on, you can go hybrid on, you could go full tank on, you could do a lot of stuff with him. And he just does it well. Short cooldowns, an Athena taunt size stun. It's not entirely Athena taunt size, but you get what I mean. It's nearly impossible to miss. And really good gank potential, semi-global. Overall, incredibly strong pick. Or by the same note, you could do the exact same thing I said for Rat, except for you're more likely to go full damage on him. Your build is looking pretty much the same. You're probably going to want to Serrated in here, around where the Runeforged is. You can go either or. I think the Serrated is probably just better, though, if you're going full damage. Semi-global, high damage, extreme burst combo, good CC, very good survivability, short cooldowns. Going pretty much the exact same build I put out for Thor. Awilix can do different things, but her biggest weakness is that on sieges, she is not great. Like Phoenix and Tower sieges, she is just not good. If your team has other knockups, or if you just want to run the match in the early game, Awilix is just kind of your pick. She is super strong. High damage, really high burst, good CC and lockdown, good chase potential, and decent safety. Again, same build I put in for Thor. You can go on Daji. High CC, decent safety. Be careful around objectives, specifically Titan and Gold Fury. Putting up your Paolo, it counts as structure, like player-made walls, like a Ymir wall, Yamoja wall, that sort of thing, and they can destroy them. So be mindful of that, but still, you'd be taken right out of your ultimate and would be put on cooldown. Anyway, she has really high damage, really good 1v1 potential, good burst. She has bleed damage, which is kind of difficult to Aegis sometimes. She also really good lockdown and chase. Overall, just a very strong pick. And for solo lane, I'm glad I was wrong, because Warriors are back. I believe Final K made a video recently about it. I haven't watched it, but I would assume we're going over similar picks here, but I'm going to link it below so you can see what a pro has to say about it. He'll probably go into more detail because he's not explaining as many things as me. But Warriors are back. The mage build, I don't want to say because they're better now and because they fixed the warrior problem. They didn't really. They just made the mage builds completely unsafe and not usable anymore. So now we have to go back to warriors. So I think your best pick right now, without a doubt, is Achilles. Tanky, good lane pressure, doesn't really lose any lanes. If he does lose pressure, decent secure, good late game dive, really tanky. This is kind of going to be the build you're looking at. Gaia is something that's optional. You can look into, alternatively, something like Jotun's Vigor, or you can look into Scepter or Vital Amplifier, but Gaia is also just, like, good into certain solo lane picks, or jungle picks as well. Like, if they have a Mercury and a Tyr, right? Gaia is really good into that, because their ability to kill you revolves around knockups, right? Or if in your mid and late game dive, your getaways from them revolve around them CCing you with knockups or knockbacks, or pushes, pulls, that sort of thing. Gaia's kind of sleeper. Going to a Glad Shield for damage. Arc Druids is still OP, I think. I think it's really strong still. But your magical D item, I think Oni Hunters and Pestilence are kind of like both really good. You can go Heart Ward, but I really like Pestilence and Oni Hunters. You can go the Heart Ward glyph still, but like I said, Oni Hunters getting the mitigations is strong, and the Pestilence giving you 70 prots is just good. You can't tell me that 70 magical prots is bad, right? And especially with somebody with a 35% execute, that can never be bad. And then you can either go Mantle or Spirit Robe. I prefer the Spirit Robe, cheaper item, but if you need it, you can go Spectral. You can also sell the Gaia late game too, especially when their solo and jungle aren't on you anymore. Let's just say the Mercury tier is what you're dealing with, but in the late game, you're not diving somebody with those CCs. You can sell it and go into something else, a damage item, or you can go into another tank item, because with Achilles, you're gonna go Sundering Axe. He's the best user of it because of how his passive works. Overall, probably the best solo laner in the game. I wouldn't put her at number 2, but I also have a bias because I fucking hate this character with every fiber of my being. I think she's boring as hell, and she just lets people who don't play solo lane just stalemate the lane. That's what she does. She is a boring pick through and through. You go Warrior's Axe, you go pretty much similar stuff to what I said on Achilles, but you can look into things like Jotun's Vigor. You can also look into Runeforged, or you can go into the Gaia if you want, but I feel like Jotun's is kind of sleeper. Because you get good power, and it's just a better Soul Eater. It's just a better Soul Eater. Because when you need the healing, it's going to proc, and it gives you movement speed. The rest of this build is kind of just, you can go Onis, you can go Pestilence. The Archdruid is just good. Makes you really tanky. Stone of Binding is because 3 abilities of Nike's proc it. Or, excuse me, all 4 can, but you're not likely to proc it on the 1 all the time. She stalls out ADCs really well, and she's just a health bar to go through. She doesn't like dominate any lane, but she doesn't lose to most lanes anyway. So she's just a strong pick. She's a really good Sundering Axe user. She gets really easy poke. She's just kind of what you're looking at right now. Surtur is good, and he's one of the few late game warriors who can actually kill people. He has really good lane control, and if you stack up the 1 around 60, 70 stacks, you have a very big kill threat. You cannot Aegis the 1, because the 1 just won't proc. The hit of the 1 won't proc if an Aegis is on them, because they're immune to the damage won't go through, and then it will hit. If you're still hitting them, it will hit afterwards. It's kind of the build you're looking at. Because he's a user of Scepter, you're going Scepter. I think that if you are a user of Schmeck Scepter, whatever it's called, Schmeckahetz, the Scepter, the Lion Scepter, anyway, you should be buying it. It is strong. The only character that I'm kind of iffy on is Achilles, because he can use so many items very well. But you can either go Bluestone or you can go Axe. I prefer the Corrupted Bluestone, but Axe is also might just be better. I don't know yet. I still need some time with it, but still. You're gonna go Breastplate of Regrowth, or you can go Contagion, but if you're gonna go Pestilence, don't go Contagion. They don't stack. But Breastplate into Onis or Pestilence, either one works. Archdruids, probably in the spot of where I have Onis, but you can go it after, followed by a Spirit Robe, or Mantle, or Spectral. You can go Blink, Teleport, or Beads, or your Relic. Diet Shock, finally, looks good. He was okay during the Mage meta. He was one of the only playable warriors during the Mage meta, but he's actually looks good. Again, Scepter user, if you can use it, get it. You can look into Corrupted Bluestone or Sundering Axe, but the Corrupted Bluestone attack speed slow doesn't stack with your 3. But having those 2 slow fields, that's crazy. The Scepter makes your cooldowns nearly non-existent if you're hitting somebody. Gladiator Shield into Prophetic Cloak. You can go Thebes as well, but in ranked especially, you kind of have to give up a lot of breathing room to stack Thebes in solo lane. So, you can go Prophetic, or you could just go Archdruids. Either one works. I like the Prophetic on Shock because it lets you stack up if you're going Axe, especially, because it lets you get way more protections for Axe, and Axe is so easy to proc on Shock. Followed by Spirit Robe, Mantle. If you need it, get a Spectral. Or you can go another damage item. Things like Brawlers. Or Erendite works incredibly well on Shock. The last pick I'm going to mention is Cucullin. It was between him, Wukong, and Mulan. But the problem with Mulan is that she's just not... Like, if she gets ganked, she's probably dead. And I feel like Cucullin puts up more of a threat than Wukong does, strangely enough. You can go Axe or you can go Bluestone. Either one works. And then the Gaia build, like I was saying on Achilles, you can go into something like Runeforged, but Cucullin doesn't really proc it very well. You can go the Jotuns as well, which is something you can abuse, quite honestly, because he has a lot of damage. But Gaia into certain picks because he needs to sustain from something, because he doesn't have any in kit. Glad Shield, Archdruids, either Onis or Pestilence, whichever one you prefer. Teleport, Blink. Blink is... I rarely say relics are necessary on certain characters. I think Blink is 100% like necessary on Cucullin. His engage is a gigantic circle knockup. It is difficult to get into a prime position for it without Blink. Blink is just so good on this character. Again, finish out your build with either Spirit Robe, Mantle, or Spectral, whatever you're feeling. If you need the Spectral, I usually don't go Spectral unless they have 2 characters that are using crit, but it's up to you. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Peace.